This is Mommying While Muslim, recorded live and unedited. Watch as Zeba and Uzma record their podcast, see their reactions, and find out for yourself what all the buzz is about.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Momming While Muslim podcast. This is Uzma Jaffrey.
And this is Zeba Hassan on the special, I think it's actually going to be a recorded episode for the first time. So we are super excited to see how that goes. But while we're chit-chatting, Uzma, how was your week? We were talking pre-show and you were talking about how Umar is kind of forcing you to work out with him. So
Yeah,
I was
he's
really
trying.
excited to hear about that. He's trying. He's trying.
Yeah.
Good luck, Umar. Good
My
luck.
husband got some equipment, like one of those, it looks like a rowing machine platform. I don't even know a bench, like a workout bench, but it has all these funky attachments to it. So it's kind of like that Nordic track thing, but on its back. So he's like doing all this fancy stuff and saying, hey, let's do it. Because now that I'm feeling better on the
Yes.
antidepressants, I'm feeling a little bit more energetic. We're going out, we're getting our vitamin D at the park. He's like, let's do this final thing. And this is something that we can do together. And I have been married to this man for 14 and a half years. And one of the reasons we married each other is because neither of us believe in activity outside of like what is absolutely necessary. We're both couch potatoes.
Oh
So he's
my
kind of
God.
messing that up, but for the better, for the better.
That is so fun. Well, I have to say, I'm very excited, and I can even see your smile is back in your voice. So that's always, so good for me to see and hear. So I'm
Yeah,
super thankful about that.
thank you. Tell me about your week.
So my week is actually going to I'm going to talk a little bit about the aha moment that I had this week.
Oh,
And I know, and it was actually really interesting. So I am, I think I told you Zephyr is coaching my younger two boys in basketball. And I think Joe has some pictures he's going to put up because I just think it's the cutest, sweetest thing ever. Because my number 4 is actually on the same team as my number
oh,
3, just because Zephyr is the coach. So he's like, why not do this? And the beauty is Zachariah, my oldest, is actually the assistant coach. And part of the reason we do this and why all of them play basketball is not because we think they're going to be basketball players in the NBA. Let's just be real about this.
yes.
But it is a universal thing that all 4 of my kids, including my daughter, one enjoy doing together. Like my older son is part of, like I said, this. He's like a leader, and that my younger two really really look up to him. So
Oh,
I am actually the COVID police when I go to these. And it's really like each team is assigned a COVID monitor. So I'm supposed to make sure at practices and at games, I check the temperatures, I make sure everybody signs a waiver. And I make sure, like as you can see, the kids are wearing their masks, and I'm actually pretty, pretty conscientious. As you can see, every single person is maintaining their mask, which is actually amazing for this
for
age group. So that's
basketball.
kind of my job. And I sit on the my sidelines, and I watch this. So during one practice, um, Zan, my number 4, came and decided to drink some water. That's the only time you can remove your mask. So he sat on my lap and he was drinking water, and we were cuddling and chit chatting with his sweaty little body. And Zachariah, my oldest, walked by and he said, Zan, come on, you're almost 8. Why are you sitting in mama's lap? Come on, let's go. Come on, buddy, let's get up. And, my instinct was to become defensive. And I was trying to understand, why am I becoming defensive? He's just trying to do this. And I didn't say anything about it at the time, but it was really bothering me. Like, why did this particular exchange bother me so much? So this is where the woo-woo stuff comes in. And I know you love this, Uzma. But after Isha that night, I did a little bit of dhikr, and I was just sitting because I was like, something is really bothering me. What is it about this that's bothering me? Because I felt defensive when he said this. Like it was almost like he was trying to say, you didn't do this with me, and here you are doing with him. And the truth of the matter, Isma, is like, I didn't do that with them. Like
Right.
when he was 8, when wasn't like I couldn't even imagine sitting on the sidelines cuddling with him at basketball practice. And,
Yeah.
part of the reason for that is one, they're your older two, right? And so I was either nursing or pregnant with the other two kids and constantly busy with that. So I didn't really have that time to sit on the sidelines, chit chat about his game while I'm drinking the water. And I was like, that is what is bothering me. Because I realized I didn't do that with them. And
Yeah.
I was parenting, and I'm even getting like goosebumps now and trying not to cry thinking about it. Because I realized with my older two kids, I was parenting them from a place of ego from myself, right? And I have to be honest about that. What are other people expecting from these kids? They can't be sitting with their mom on the sidelines. He needs to be behaved. They need to be this. Never from an aggressive perspective, but very much from what are other people going to think about my parenting perspective. Whereas
Mm.
with age and some wisdom and some internal introspection, with my younger two, I'm really parenting them from a place of what their needs are, and I'm reacting to that.
Yes.
And that was my aha moment. Like, and part of me still feels a little bit guilty, and that's where that defensiveness internally came from, was I was so focused on what other people thought that perhaps I didn't give my older two that emotional support and need that they may have needed at 8, because 8 is still a baby. Like, let's
Yeah.
just be, because I view Zan as he's a baby. And I realized with my older two, they were kind of forced. And perhaps that is what happens when you have older kids, and we were the oldest of our families. And our parents kind of pushed us into a role that perhaps we weren't ready for. So I'm either going to continually feel defensive about that, or I'm going to say, you know what, he's only 17, he still has 18 months at home with me, and I'm going to try to use this time to make up for lost grounds. And then I've been giving him lots of extra hugs and kisses,
Good.
and he's really annoyed with me.
Did
So
you
that's the
talk to
moral
him
of that
about
story. I
did you
did,
talk
I
to him about
did,
okay, tell me how that
I really
conversation
did.
went because I had a moment like this week too, so this is, like, so
Oh, that's so
surreal.
funny. Yeah, it's funny because I do feel like things happen for a reason. Like, and I'm a big believer in Alice von Thaler shows us signs and moments in time that we're not necessarily. It's like, in the periphery and your peripheral vision, and you're just like, why does this bother me so much?
Yeah.
And we sat down and talked about it. And first of all, he laughed and he was like, "Oh my God, I would never have sat in your lap at 8. That I'm not a baby or whatever." And I was just like, "But did you ever feel badly about it?" And he did admit, because I was pregnant or nursing for like so much a part of that particular time in his life, because he's 10 years older than Zan is, for instance, that he
Mhm.
said, yeah, we did miss having you do the things that you used to do with us, but you were doing other things and you gave us my brothers. And
Aw.
that to me was so, not that it made me feel like relieved, but it made me realize that he chose to look at it in a different way. He's like, yeah, maybe I didn't have my mom with me every step of the way, but now I have these two brothers. And that to me was always why I gave my kids siblings, because I know at some point we're not going to be with them.
Mhm.
And perhaps through, if I really cultivate their relationship with each other when they're younger, that they'll have each other always when they're older. So that was kind of, and that made me feel a little bit better, because he's now at a stage where he doesn't want to be hugged and kissed. And oh my God, he gets so, if God forbid, if I touch his hair. But the
Yeah.
fact that we were able to have that conversation together, and that I was able to maybe um, have that conversation with myself at a stage and at a time where I can do something proactively about it versus reactively do it in the rearview mirror, if that makes sense.
Absolutely,
So that was
absolutely.
my aha parenting moment of the week. And I feel like I'm a better person for having gone through that experience. So,
I
and
love
you
it.
said you had something similar as well. So I'd like to hear a little bit about that.
My 6-year-old, like, during the day, he'll come and find me no matter what he's doing,
Mm-hmm.
and he just wants to cuddle. And he
Mm-hmm.
burrows into my body like he's trying to
Yes,
get back in utero or something. And I'm
that's
like, dude,
that's
what's going on?
literally Zan.
He's like a little hamster. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, I just want to cuddle. I'm so cold and I just want to cuddle with you. And then he'll ask questions, almost like he remembers breastfeeding. And he's like, so,
Yes.
and it's the same conversation. It's like babies drink from
Mhm.
Nana so they won't die, right? We're like
Right,
animals,
right.
right? And I'll be like, yeah. He's like, why did Allah do that? I'm like, it's so cool, subhanAllah, because isn't it easy to just create one system and just make it the same
Yes,
for all animals?
universal.
So
Exactly.
we love that, right? For mammals, at least, this is great. Um, so as I was looking down at him, I was thinking, I never did this with my other three, like never,
Mhm.
because I had the
Yeah.
3 under 3. I was depressed. It was horrible. I had very little downtime. I did a lot of the educational stuff, which I thought was hands on, but
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh crap, this is the hands on I'm supposed to do. And now my oldest is almost my height, Zeba. And I was like,
Mhm.
how can I cuddle with him the same way that I am with a
Yes.
6-year-old now? And I was
Right.
really feeling guilty about it too. And I've always felt guilty. I mean, I have to look at my kids' baby
Yeah.
pictures, the older two, to remember I only ever saw them in the dark. So when
Yeah.
they were 6 years old, they were making their own breakfast, they were packing their own lunch, they were getting themselves
Mhm.
dressed. It was like, you have to grow up so fast. And I pushed them, which was exactly
Mhm.
what I said I wouldn't do. Because speaking to your point, like we were pushed into these roles that we didn't want, or I didn't want it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we assumed it and we went, and I don't want my older two to ever resent me. And I don't want them to ever forget that they are children. So I'm glad that now we've changed our lifestyle to be more child led and child directed, because
Mhm.
I feel like I'm putting the trust back in them. I'm putting the trust back in myself. Like, I know what's good for them. I know that touching more and hugging more and more freedom is
Mhm.
what's going to be good for us, because you said ego. I didn't even think of that my ego was
Mhm.
driving my parenting before. I think it was just sheer exhaustion, not knowing what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was for me. But a lot of, I know better than you. So I guess, yeah, that's ego. And I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. And I tell my kids, I'm like, I have no clue. I am a first time mom,
And
just
we're
like you
learning
are.
this
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's ultimately how we ended it. I was like, I want you to know that like when you because you made me a mother, we went on this parenting journey together. And
Yeah.
that's really why I think that firstborn is it holds a special place in everyone, and you can pretend like it doesn't, but it
Yeah.
really does, because you do not know, like for me, I didn't know what actual pure love was until I had him.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when I knew, like, this is what love is supposed to feel like. Oh my god,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start crying. Like, why am I
You're
crying
okay.
about this? And we're learning how to be together. And because of him, I have was able to tweak and adjust and perhaps give my younger two a different parenting experience because I learned from him. And the beauty of it, and what I really want to say, is he is not jealous at all. Like he
Mashallah.
fully was like, if I can be the beta so that my brothers can be the alpha, I will much rather that happen.
Oh, oh, my
And that
sugar.
to
Yeah.
me is like the best parenting moment that you can have. And I need to stop crying. And I'm going to let you, while I stop crying, tell us about what our soapbox is this week. And I will go blow my nose and take care of myself. And Uzma, take it away.
I love when we're slobbering messes on our episodes. That's great. My
I,
sister's like, you guys
I
spend so much
know.
time crying. It's like reminiscing in motherhood. That's what we do. So I wanted to talk today about the SATs. And so maybe it's because of the pandemic. Maybe it's because colleges have come out and said, we never cared in the first place. But the SATs, timely because Zeba's oldest son is 17, and I think he's set to take them or has taken them already. They are dropping the essay section. So the essay section, I believe, was optional before. So you would have the 2 hour SATs and then another 50 minutes, hour long of the essay portion. And it turns out a lot of places like Yale and Princeton are like, dude, that never even factored into our admissions. We don't care. So because of the pandemic, a lot of colleges and universities are considering not making the SAT scores mandatory as part of your application. Um, not making it mandatory because the problem is, I think during a couple of weekends this year, our juniors and seniors have tried to sign up for an SAT, and 2.2 million at one point signed up for a Saturday test, and only 900,000 got spots because these testing centers are now having to socially distance within them and make sure that everybody who's taking the test is safe, which is really screwy. And they're like, that's not fair. That's not equitable access. One of the things that they have done through the years is, made the test pretty cost effective. It's about $50 to take the SAT, and then I think it's cheaper, maybe $30 cheaper if you take the essay. Well, we're throwing the essay out, and now they're working. Okay, here's what really shocked me. Now in 2020, they're like, for those who still want to take the SATs because their particular universities of interest are still requiring them, they're going to digitize it. And I was shocked this morning. I was like, Joe, the SAT is not on a computer. And he was like, no, it's a paper pencil, because that's what his son did too. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's still a Scantron, old school, 30 years ago Scantron with a pencil. I have not taken a paper pencil test, I don't know, since medical school, because they had already started digitizing forms of standardized tests when I was in high school. And I'm going to be, full disclosure, I'm class of 96. So at that point, they were testing the essay section. So we had to do the essay, but it didn't count for anything on our SATs, and it was on the computer. So I'm really shocked that 30 years later, almost 30 years later, I'm not dating myself that much, um, they still haven't put the test on a computer, because had they done that, that would have been really equitable. And all of our juniors and seniors could have taken it online from the comfort of their home, like they're doing everything else. I feel like the SATs have kind of fallen off in that regard. And maybe it's because they are so much cheaper. There probably will be a price hike when they go digital. But I think it would be really awesome if we just had universal university college based education. So for everybody, free and without these standardized tests. That would be really great. We would save tons of money, tons of time, especially since we haven't caught up to technology and digitized this test that everybody, I remember sweating bullets over this exam, and I think I ended up taking it twice too. So really ridiculous. That's my update on the SAT. So for those of you who have sophomores, juniors, seniors, maybe don't, stress the kids out studying for it, and don't, make them do like 17 different practice essays. Because even during my time when it didn't count, we were stressing over those essays because a lot of it was we had nothing to go based off of. The other thing they're changing on the SATs, apparently they have subject tests. You can take a test in like
Mhm.
literature, math, psychology, whatever. They're dropping those completely too, because again, not a lot of people are taking them. Our kids have been pushed to do AP courses in high school so that they can get college credit. And because there's such a move towards that, the SAT is like, why should we invest money and technology in these subject tests, because they don't matter anyway? That would be like if you were applying to a place like Caltech or something, you might do like extra math subject tests. So that's not going to be a thing anymore. And I think it's good. I am not a lover of standardized tests. I am a lover of democratizing education. And I think this is one of our steps towards it. It took a pandemic for us to get here. Alhamdulillah. That's our soapbox for today.
That's so funny because I think I told you my son signed up for 3 different times to take the SAT test, and because he wasn't the first time a junior, he was a sophomore, and the second time he was only early junior, they actually canceled his ability to take the test because they prioritized the seniors that needed to take it. So the poor kid was all ready, and then the last, literally, it was supposed to be Saturday, and then on Friday we receive a text, your test has been canceled. So
Oh my God, so much stress for
um, so it is a lot of stress, but inshallah, God knows where he's supposed to go, and that's where we're going to do. But as I blew my nose, stopped crying, heard good news about the SATs. We're going to continue our this month's series on how tos like, moms doing crazy hard things and sharing the behind the scenes with us, because we're setting the tone for 2021 to expect hard things to overcome. And Elisabana wills it. If Elisabana wills it, we will do it. And with the right mindset, I think we can all get this done. But today's particular topic is actually near and dear to our heart because, as you know, Tara Ejai kind of compiled this beautiful 50 stories, I believe, like close to 50 authors, and including our lovely Uzma was one of the authors featured in this compilation, Love Meets Life. And like I said, it's an amazing book, and she was able to do that, and it kind of got Uzma like motivated to continue to write her story, which I'm really hopeful that we will do. But the reality is we're trying to write a book called Mommy While Muslim, where we're sharing a similar situation where it's an anthology of stories and mothering American Muslim children. But for whatever reason, people are feeling we're having a hard time actually fielding some of these submissions. We can't get anybody to submit. So if you're watching this and you have a unique mom story, and then quite frankly, anything, because the reality of the situation is we're all individual moms to our own children, and your story is unique and it deserves to be heard. So if you have that, please contact Uzma at mommywhilemuslim.com. She is the one compiling the authors. We definitely appreciate it. This is our call to action for you today. And the reality is, like I mentioned earlier, Uzma is on her own personal journey and trying to write her book. And personally, like just chatting with her, her individual, just writing it down, I think it's hard because I don't want to speak with her, but it does touch on things that you have to go through. And it's a process. It's an emotional, therapeutic process when you're writing down your own individual story. But part of the challenge for her that we've seen is just trying to get it published and reaching out, and that business side of how to get a book published. So today we are extremely lucky and blessed to have us joining today Anse Najia Maxfield, and we're going to talk about the name pronunciation because I thought something was very interesting when we were talking pre-show. She is the author of many articles, poems, short stories, and her young adult novel, Sophia's Journal, one of our favorites in our house, is an award-winning time travel adventure. She teaches English and history in the US and Middle East, and she has spent 3 years managing editor of Discover, and that's the magazine for curious Muslim kids, and we all have them. And she is now the head of publishing at Daybreak Press, Rabata's nonprofit publishing company. Please welcome Anse Najia. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much. I am so blessed to be here.
Inshallah.
I can't believe I haven't.
That you
So
haven't.
Najia, we're freezing in and out. No, but I love this. But we chatted a little bit because we always ask people before they come on the show, how would you like to be called? And then I loved how you described in the changing of your pronunciation of your name. It means two different things. So can you just kind of illuminate our audience as to what those two meanings are?
Yeah, the first when Uzma was addressing me, she was calling me Najia, and that is a name. That's actually the name that I was named for. My ex-husband's grandmother was named Najia, and it means one who is saved or one who is safe. And the pronunciation that I actually use and always have used, because at first I didn't really understand, but then serendipitously, I always pronounced my name Najia, and everyone around me always pronounced it Najia, and that means intimate conversation.
Ooh, and that's what we're having here today.
Well, yeah.
That's
I always
awesome.
be talking, so it's always appropriate.
Yes, exactly. I just love the energy you bring to all the conversations that, I have seen you or attended where you are. And, I want people to see that today. Tell us a little bit about your mom's story. How many kids, how old, and what's your momming philosophy?
Okay, so I have six children. The oldest
Mashallah,
is
she beat us.
30.
She beat us.
Yeah, the oldest one is almost 35 and the youngest are 25. So there's 10
Oh,
years between them.
Mm.
And the youngest are twins.
Oh, mashallah.
oh.
So I have 3 boys. Yeah, so I could really relate to so much of what you were saying today. So much of what you were
Mm.
saying. But I wanted to kind of throw in there that you said that you're making up for lost time with your kids, before they jump the nest, and that's so
Mhm.
important. And also, it's so important to do it in a way that they can relate to. So don't try
Mhm.
to relate. Don't try to exactly match that 8-year-old hug that you miss.
Yes.
Find
Can you
out what would
imagine?
really
He's
speak to him and
62
do
and I'm gonna
that.
try to grab him. He's gonna be like, "What
Yeah,
are you doing, mama?"
I know. That's about 80% of what they say when they're that age. Mom, what are you doing?
Yes.
Mom, what are you doing?
Yeah,
No matter what
exactly,
you do.
exactly. "What do you need?" "I'm doing your laundry, buddy. I'm doing your laundry."
That's so funny.
Whatever it is, you're doing it wrong.
Okay, exactly. Thank you for making if that's happening to you, I am so grateful for hearing that because I'm just like, "What am I breathing wrong? I'm breathing wrong." Like, that's really the age where they're like, what are you talking about right now?"
That's
It
so
drives
funny.
me insane.
I remember the first time. I remember the first time my kids told me, "Mom, don't sing in the car. It's embarrassing."
I know!
But nobody can hear you. It's a closed car.
I'm like, "Hello."
Or can we
No,
just
people can
sing
see you
together?
though.
Or stop
And if you're, of
dancing? You're
course,
so
I don't just sing, I
weird.
jam.
Yes.
Oh, that's why.
Dancing.
And they're like,
Just
"Oh
like
my god."
to like Metallica or Nine Inch Nails.
Can you imagine?
That makes sense.
Eminem, we're doing the gangster rap in the car, and they're like, "This is not cool. This is not cool at all."
Hey, I can jam to Simon and Garfunkel. That's my.
Oh, yes.
So my kids not only had the jamming mom, but the mom jamming to the old music.
That's a double negative. That is not
Yeah,
fun.
I can see where they're
Which
coming from.
means it's a positive.
Exactly. I love that.
So outside of putting our 17-year-olds in our laps like our 8-year-olds, what do you mean about, kind of customizing that kind of makeup for lost time with them as they're older? I think we might
Like
be
as they're older, they need different things than we want to give. Even oh my, am I frozen?
No, I think you're going. You're good.
Oh no. Oh, okay. They may even need different, like they need different things than they did when they were 8, and they may need different things than we want to give because as a mom, we still want to give those hugs and we still
Mhm,
want that kind of close intimate. We crave when they needed us, but what they
Hmm.
need
mhm.
from us now is for us to help them not need us anymore. So that's difficult
Exactly.
for us. But if
100%.
we, yeah, just help them with their independence in all the healthy, in all the healthy ways. And if they're interested in something that you don't care about, start caring.
Ugh,
Like look
Mhm.
up Dungeons and Dragons or look up whatever it is
yes.
that they do, whatever game they play, whatever, like debate club they're in, whatever it is, like become the poster mom for that. And without hugging them in front of their friends, but
Oh, that
but
too.
Hence
be
hence I'm
involved
the COVID police at their
and
basketball
seek their
games. Who
opinions.
knew?
Take their
Works, yeah.
opinions. I heard that. Okay.
Yeah, take their opinions. So important. Yeah. So transitioning, they need to be able to feel that change in dynamic. Because if they feel more empowered within the family, then they don't feel the need to rebel as much. And they, that transition becomes more healthy. Because as we know, adolescence is a construct anyway of the industrial age. So,
Yes.
that there didn't used to be this awkward, rebellious stage. There was you were a kid and then you were an adult.
And adult.
So yeah, we have to help them navigate that.
That's interesting. I love that advice. That makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be crying like Zeba was earlier. That's awesome.
I know, sorry. I
Yeah, yeah.
stopped.
No,
I
Even
stopped.
if
don't
we did miss
apologize.
whatever. Oh, guys, my older kids, like they got a totally different mom than the younger kids, like you were
Mhm.
saying, a totally
Mhm.
different mom. And some of those ways were more beneficial, and some of those ways were less beneficial for them. And like we just have to say, this is how Allah put us in the birth order, and
Mhm.
this is how Allah put the kids, and we did the best we could. Like Maya Angelou says, when we were there, we did the best we could, and know better, we do
Yes.
better.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Auntie
Exactly.
Tamara is always a big proponent of that as well. Just
Yes,
go
she
forward.
is.
Just start where you are.
That's
Just dive in.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about Daybreak Press in particular? Because I don't think a lot of people have heard of it. I had certainly not heard of it until very recently when we had one of the authors on. And then as
Mhm.
we did more research, it led us to Anse Tamara and then, to you.
Yeah, so Daybreak Press is the publishing arm of Rabata. Rabata is an international nonprofit that was founded by Anse Tamra. She studied for. Pardon me, guys, my allergies are just so awful. She studied for 20 years in Damascus, 25 years, all of the Islamic sciences, and planned to stay there for the rest of her life. And that was her life. And she came to the States right when the war started, thinking that, okay, I'm just going to go and visit. I'll be there, like a month. She originally planned to stay a month, and it was like, okay, well, I'll stay for 4 or 5 months. Anyway, it wound up in a situation where, of course, the Syrian circumstances didn't allow her to go back. So she's been here ever since. And so what she did was she took the entire curriculum and way of teaching and philosophy that she learned in Syria and put it online so
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
everyone in the world has access to it. She had done a speaking tour in Ramadan, and she just realized suddenly, having been disconnected from the Western Muslim community for so long, she realized, oh my God, Muslim women are just dying of thirst out here.
Mhm.
There's
Yes.
nothing for them to access. They don't have access to learning, they don't have access to quality books, they don't have access to, like, they're just like, each one is her own bubble of suffering, basically.
Yeah.
So she created that system. She created Rabata and Ribat, which is the name of the academic program. And we actually have 7 different programs and incarnations of Rabata that focus mainly on community and upbringing and scholarship. So we're aiming to bring the female voice to scholarship so that the next generation of Muslim women who are trying to mommy while Muslim, or trying to work while Muslim, or trying to go to school while Muslim, have that support and sisterhood and community so that they can live in the shelter of each other rather than just standing out in the rain like we did in our generation.
Yes. I think that metaphor
So yeah, so
is so
Daybreak Press. Oh, sorry. Oh,
No, I
sorry.
was
So
just saying
Daybreak
that's a
Press
beautiful metaphor.
specifically is. Oh, yeah, that's Auntie Tamara's metaphor. Yeah, it's just such a blessing to have that access. I remember thinking, yes, okay, I learned how to pray, alhamdulillah. Yes, okay, like I know this is haram and this is haram and this is haram, which is basically what we got back in the day, right? Not
Exactly.
not so many of the halals, just all the harams. And then I was like, but I want the meat. I know there's meat.
Mhm.
I would listen to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf tapes, and I would be like, see, look, there's all this learning. There's something out there, but I didn't know how to access it. And Ansay Tamra's Rabata brings it. Just brings it, man.
Mhm.
Yes.
uh, so Daybreak, we have 10 books now. We started in 2014, and we publish young adult novels. And we have 3 of those. And I believe Afshan Malik was the other author that you
Mhm.
interviewed. Her book is called Pieces.
It was
Um,
Saba Sayed.
and yes, we
That
have
was
3 novels. Oh, was it Saba Sayed? Yeah, so she's an
it was Saba
acquaintance.
Sayed.
Apologies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Saba
quite.
Sayed. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so an acquaintance is very it speaks to the kids where they are. It speaks to the
Mhm.
kids where
Mhm.
they are. Type, we all try to make our books do that, but that one is fearlessly and unabashedly goes where some of them are experiencing some really hard temptations.
Mhm.
So yes, we have 3 of those, and we have a textbook which is called the Compendium of the Narration. It's a compendium of the earliest sources on the narrative of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and
Mm.
it is a 2-volume English abridgment of a 6-volume Arabic set. that was written by Ansay. Ugh, pardon me, I'm so sorry, Ansay
No worries.
Samzayed, and she passed away last year. Allah yarhamha. She was the primo Sira scholar of our time, bar none. Her Arabic series has garnered so many awards and recommendations from shuyukh and even governments abroad, and like it's very well recognized in the Arabic speaking world. Yeah, so we have that. We have a children's book called Drummer Girl, which is a 4-time award winner. And we have poetry. So we publish in all kinds of genres, and we have some really good. We have an upcoming dua book, and we recently came out with Project Lena, which is the book that accompanies our Project Lena workshops. And Project Lena is all about being a convert, and it's not about being a new convert. It's about being a convert at any stage of the path. And it covers 3 modules, which are know yourself, declare your independence, and tend your ties. And through those modules, it kind of speaks to the heart of being a Muslim. Do you know, oh my gosh, you guys, do you remember, I don't know if you guys are old enough, but do you remember the book Daughters of Another Path?
No.
Okay, so this book was written by a woman. It was in the 80s or maybe early 90s, but I think it was the 80s, and it was written by a woman whose daughter had converted to Islam. And it was all about the mom's journey to accept the daughter, right? It's a very beautiful work, and but the daughter left Islam eventually.
Yes.
Last I heard, she had left Islam. And there are so many situations where that happens because people come to Islam and they don't find either the spiritual home or the fellowship, the support,
Yes.
So Project Lena is all about those kind of issues. It's not about this is how you pray and this is how you fast and it's not fiqh or anything like that. It's about how to ground yourself and actually get that meat of learning and get that sisterhood.
I think that's one of the main things that my mom converted to Islam, and that one of the main things she does specifically say, like, she wishes she had that support, and she's like, she's glad she could. So the exact thing she says, and I think it's hilarious. I'm glad I converted to Islam because she felt like it was the right religion before I knew any Muslim people. Because because it was after she met Muslim people that she was like, this is not what my version of Islam was supposed to be. And it's because she didn't necessarily get that support. And she admits that, and she wishes that. But, I love that you're talking about the books, but what I want to do as somebody who is an inspiring writer, and you've just written this award-winning book, like, what is that path from writing something to actually getting it published look like for somebody just getting started?
Okay, so it looks like, just like people's path to Islam, it looks different from every perspective. There are lots of different ways to go about it. And so at the moment, there are 3 major ways to say, for example, you have a manuscript and you're ready to take it to market, and you're kind of trying to decide which way to go. There are 3 main ways that people get published. The first is traditional publishing, where you either submit to a press directly, or you get find an agent, and then you work with the agent, and the agent will submit your manuscript to different publishing houses. There is the what used to be called Vanity Press, which is self-publishing, and it's not called Vanity Press anymore because it's no longer just, oh, my book wasn't good enough to get published traditionally, so I guess I'll have to publish it myself. It's not like that. It's, with the onset, or with the advent of the internet and the democratization of publishing, it's become a very viable way to get published. I mean, there are books that were self-published that have won awards. Even our Daybreak Book Awards, a couple of them have been self-published books. So it's very viable, and it's extremely respected, whereas it used to not be. But This method involves a lot more work on your own part, and it involves an investment of money.
Mhm.
Okay, so traditional press, you write the manuscript and you send it to the publisher, and the publisher pays for everything. They hire the designer, they hire the typesetter, all that stuff. So the publisher takes on the investment financially, and you have to work for the marketing of your book. You do not self do all find a platform where you want to publish it from. You have to either hire a designer or use a pre-designed cover, for example. You have to make all those decisions on your own, and you have to invest the money to get it published. Of course, at the end, what does that mean? That means you get to keep all of the proceeds. Whereas if you have a traditional publisher, they take a bite and you just get like an agreed upon, like contract. Usually it's between 10 and 13% is your royalty. So that's how that's divided. And there's a third way now, which is called hybrid publishing. And this is where there are companies that exist that you provide the manuscript, they provide the expertise, and you provide the money. Okay, so what you do is you send your manuscript and you pay the company X amount of dollars, and they take that money, and with it they hire the typesetter, hire the whatever, do all that stuff that a publishing company does. And then when it's time for the proceeds, it's divided in some way, so whatever the agreed upon amount is, or division. Yeah, so hybrid publishing is becoming very popular. And I think that if you are able to really research and find a good company, like there's a good company in Minnesota called Grey Wolf Press, and there are actually two companies called Grey Wolf Press. I think they may be spelled differently, but one of them is a hybrid company, and it's very, very reputable, and they love literature and they love books, and they're really dedicated to what they do, and they love their authors and they treat them well, and they help them market. But there are also opportunities in the hybrid industry for people to take advantage of authors who are so aspiring and they just really want to get their stuff out there. They'll be like, oh yeah, give me money, I'll put your stuff out there, and then they produce a subpar product, like the quality of the book, the beauty of the typesetting, the paper itself, like those kind of things can be subpar, so you have to watch out for those things.
That's good
So
to know.
yeah, and also, and all of them. So you might think if you get published with a publishing company in a traditional way, you're off the hook for marketing. This is not the case anymore.
Not the case. I was going to say, I don't think it
not
is.
at all. Not the case. No. Unless you're Danielle Steele or Stephen, what's his name?
Stephen King. Stephen King.
Yeah.
The Stephen King. Yes, unless you're those guys, ain't nobody standing around with a $10,000 advance and all of this publishing marketing budget. We're gonna send you to all of these places where
fancy
you're going to be wined and dined, and you're going to No, that doesn't happen anymore. That's also one of the side effects of the democratization of publication. So we'll take it, So it means that even the big five guys, even if you get published by Penguin or have Simon and Schuster or whatever, you have to participate in the marketing. Self-publishing, of course, you do all of it, and hybrid, you do all of it mostly. You might do a few little things, but yeah. So a good relationship with your publishing company is vital in that, because there's hopefully, like for example, Daybreak Press, we provide a new author handbook, and we are upcoming. We're going to be providing workshops for our authors, because we have really noticed a difference between those authors who hustle and those authors who don't quite know how to hustle. Which is me, by the way. My book got published, and I was like, okay, next project.
Exactly.
No, you're only half done. You're only in like prodromal labor at that point. You haven't until you've done the marketing.
So you're talking about some of the things that Daybreak Press is offering for authors. One of the things that I participated in was the Daybreak Press Literary Conference. Can you talk about that a little bit for our audience who doesn't know?
Yeah, so the Daybreak Press Literary Conference is held each fall. This year it will be the weekend of October 23rd in Minneapolis. We're going to do a hybrid this year. Our plan is for hybrid, depending on the pandemic, of course.
Mhm.
So we'll have about a space for about 25 participants on site, and then the rest everyone will be attending from. SubhanAllah, how COVID was such a trial, and it is such
It
a
really
difficulty,
was.
but it also provided opportunities and blessings.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, because we would have never gone hybrid before. And this year, when we did it online, we were just flabbergasted at. We had people from Africa, people from India, people from South
Yes.
America. Like so many more people were able to access that wouldn't have been able to travel. And everybody's used to Zoom now. So it was all good. People are used to interacting that way and learning that way and working that way. Yeah, so this year's theme is going to be Writers Rising
Mm.
with a little visual of a phoenix rising out of the
Oh,
Oh,
I
pandemic.
love that. Rising out of the
love
ashes.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
Because it's been a
symbolic.
hard year for
Yep, out of the
authors,
ashes of
especially
the past.
those who are
Yes.
trying to market in person. Yeah.
Yes. No author visits to schools,
Hmm.
no kind of I mean, how it is, just like for everybody else, nothing. So we've had to adapt, and that adaptation has meant growth,
Hmm.
and that's we've gone
Hmm.
off in new directions. But boy, was it a learning curve, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's exactly right.
There.
And I love what you said about the Zoom. First of all, I wrote down October 23rd because if it is hybrid, I can join virtually. So that makes me feel so excited about that. But so I love that you guys are doing that. So
not
the other
only
thing I wanted to go ahead.
Sorry, not only can you join, you can also submit a proposal. You guys, we would love to have you. Everybody who's writing, everybody who wants to write, submit a proposal. Yep, about what you're planning to do to rise out of these ashes, or what your struggles have been
Yes.
during the pandemic, the writing struggles, whatever. Everybody who's listening as well, please. We'll be opening in March for proposals. So,
I love that.
oh, and we
So
also
we're
have the
going to be,
Daybreak Press Book Awards there.
Yes, the Daybreak Press book. I was going to
ooh,
ask that as a follow-up. That already
yeah,
opened January
exactly.
1st.
I'm
Can you
so
tell our
excited.
audience about that?
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Apologize for this lag. I know that I'm talking over people.
Oh no, we're used
Um,
to that. We talk over
Daybreak
each
Press
other all
Book
the time.
Awards. Daybreak Press Book Awards are in their third year, and we opened for submissions on January 1st, and the deadline is July 31st. The winners will be announced September 1st, and the awards will be given at the literary conference on the 23rd of October. And we have 27 categories that you can submit in.
Whoa.
So whatever
Ooh.
go take a look. You can go to rabata.org/daybreakpress, RABATA. You guys probably, I know you'll have the link up somewhere.
Yes.
And yeah, you can just go and see what you could submit in. If you know an author who has a book, tell them, hey, you should submit to the Daybreak Press Book Awards. And
Mhm.
yes, the winners get bragging rights and a medal and
Yay.
seals for their books and a digital seal for them when they do a reprint. They can have that award seal on there.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just our way of uplifting Muslim women's voices. There are so many inauthentic voices out there writing our stories, and this
Yes.
is our way of getting voices out there and highlighting them.
I
It's
love
our love
that.
language.
It's time. Yeah, that is our language, and that's part of the reason why we started Momming While Muslim was so that we can control our own narrative and elevating other Muslim mothers in America, because people are always trying to speak on our behalf or speak on our parenting styles. And we were just like, yeah, we're not going to have any of that. So that was one of the main reasons we definitely wanted to start Mommy While Muslim. So I love that Rabita Institute is doing that. And the question I wanted to talk to you, like, what was your specific, because we talked about the generic, like the writing process, but what was your inspiration? I know you're not a hustler, you mentioned that, but you wrote this book for a reason. And what was your reason for writing Sophia's journal?
Well, my reason was twofold. First, I was always enamored of Kansas history. It's so fascinating. And I was also like, one time I was driving to my mom's house from Kansas City. So I used to live in Kansas City and I'd go visit my mom in Hutchinson in the middle of Kansas. And I saw some really tall trees, which is very unusual. In Kansas, there aren't many trees at
Mhm.
all. And the ones that are that usually exist that you'll see while you're driving down the highway are windbreaks that were planted after the Dust Bowl days so
Oh.
that the soil wouldn't be carried completely away. So they're usually like specific kinds of trees and they're all the same. Well, I went by these ones that were really, really tall. And I thought, what if you climbed up a tree like that tall all the way to the top and then you came back down, you were in a different time. So that was like the first kind of seed of the time travel part. But what really kicked me into action to write Sophia's journal was that I was teaching a junior level history class, and it was at an Islamic school, and these were kids who were very politically involved. You know, they were out protesting for Palestine, and they knew what was going on in Chechnya, and all of these things. But when we got to slavery, they were just like, okay, when's lunch? It did not impact them emotionally. And I really felt like oppression is oppression, and this was a serious oppression that we're still dealing with here in the States. Like by no means oppression completely, gone away. So these kids uh need to be fully, deeply in their souls aware of what that means when you say that people were slaves in that system. And
Mhm.
I also wanted to mainstreamify, like a Muslim character. So in Sophia's journal, the main character is Muslim, but what happens to her is she falls in a river, she hits her head, she comes out, she's in a different time. Like everything that happens to her is not related to her religion. She just happens to be Muslim, and it kind of comes through here and there.
Yes.
Um, so I was so tired of, because you guys probably don't know because you're like my kid's age, but in the 80s and 90s, all there were those, you've probably seen the remnants of them, the books that were so didactic and
Mhm.
so like basic in every form of the word, and they featured characters that were perfect. There's no growth.
Yes.
There's no reason to be engaged in the story because they were
Mhm.
perfect to begin with. So, this is how you should
That's the
be, and
point. Yeah.
absolutely no mistakes shall be allowed from the Muslim characters.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's the whole point, was to show you what a good Muslim was. And so I really wanted to bring us, to be part of the wave of people bringing us into literature rather than lessons.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. That is incredible because I think there was a whole segment on this year's, on 2020's Daybreak Press Literary Conference about using writing for social justice. And I feel like
Mm,
that's like an amazing way to think about it. I hadn't thought about it like that before. Even though we know like To Kill a Mockingbird even was a commentary on the social injustices of the time. And the fact that
yeah,
as Muslims, we can do the same, and it's a duty for us to do the same. And those of us who have the skill set to do it, produce that
Sure.
content for, not just our community, but for mainstream, and to keep talking about it so that these things don't get pushed or shoved under the rug, swept under the rug is the correct term, for 400 years, because we really don't have time. I
yeah,
feel like the
exactly.
last year has shown us how little time we have, and that we need to make a difference with what Allah has given us right now.
Yeah, and alhamdulillah,
Um,
people are going into the humanities more now. There was
Mm-hmm.
that time period where everybody went into the STEM subjects, and now we got that A in there, so we can put them in the STEAM subjects. Please, please, the humanities
Exactly.
are important.
I love it. I love it. Well, we really hope that everybody's going to go out and check out Daybreak Press. The award is for people who are already published, but I believe you said in March you're going to open up proposals for the literary conference in October. So if you have something that you want to present or you want to talk about, I assume that that's going to be open in March to propose that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And in the meantime,
Also, I just wanted to
oh,
let
go
you
ahead.
know that. Oh, sorry. I just want to throw in that many book awards are limited to the books that were published in the last year, or maybe the last
Mm,
3 years, for example.
okay.
So
Mhm.
we are limited to books that are published already, but they go all the way back to 2000. So if you published a book in 2008 and you oh, I'm already out, I can't even get, you can go ahead and submit. So all the
Mm,
way back to 2000. And if you wrote something before then, let us know. We may be able to extend that because we want to recognize everything that's been written and not limit it to just, like everything that's coming out now.
right, right. No, that's awesome and very inclusive. So that's great. I hope that anybody who's an aspiring writer is going to come out and check Daybreak Press out. We'll have it in our links and show notes. And I'm just so grateful, Sister Najia, that you came to talk to us. I feel so much better that I now have like a plan of action. I didn't even know there was 3
Mhm.
publishing routes. I only thought there was 2. So
Yeah.
I'm walking away having learned something today. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for that.
We appreciate it. So for
Thank
those
you
of
guys.
us,
Appreciate it so much.
so for those of us that want to know what you're up to, like where can we find you? Where can we find your book? Obviously, go to Daybreak Press to buy the book. I'm sure it is available on other channels, but going directly through the publisher is likely the better route to go. And we'll have those links in our show notes. But where can we find you on social media and website? And please let us know, on Say Najia.
Okay, so should I put it in the link or should I tell you, or what's the best
You
way?
can tell you, and then we'll put them in the show notes for you.
We're taking notes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so my Twitter is at Najia, Najiah, and my Instagram is at Clicked My Ruby Slippers.
Oh, because
Clicked
from
my ruby
Kansas.
slippers.
So
We
I
have to
have to
tell
Yeah,
you
promote
because I
Kansas
our
came
too.
back. Yeah, because I came back to Kansas.
yes, you did.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
subhanallah.
true.
So our producer is from Kansas and he's given a go Chiefs because I guess y'all had a
To
good
us.
Sunday.
Yeah, Allah, please let Mahomes be okay.
I know, right? I mean, give everybody health and happiness, and especially to you, Auntie Najia, for all the work that you're doing at Rabata and Daybreak Press. And I'll be bugging you in the future, inshallah.
All
Inshallah.
right, thanks, guys. Visit
All
us at
right,
Until next
jazakallah
time,
khair.
rabata.org.
everybody. Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum,
alaikum.
everybody.
This is another episode of